Yes. Okay, then I will continue with Barbara's talk. So let's meet our next speaker, Barbara Moss. She is also a patient advocate of Inspired to Live, along with her husband, Mark, and also her carer. Her diagnosis of stage 4 colorectal cancer in 2006 and a 3-month prognosis has turned out into be a 3 years of treatment followed by 12 years cancer-free life. So Barbara is a cancer survivor, which is a title for me. And let's see Barbara's stories, my stage 4 cancer journey and what helped me through it. I'm going to share her slides.
Thank you so much, Gagana. Thank you for asking me. Good morning, everyone. I'm Barbara. I was diagnosed with the stage 4 colorectal cancer, with a primary in the ascending colon and a 15-centimeter tumor in my left liver. I had further recurrence in the lymph. Have you got the slides, Gagana?
Just a second, they're coming.
No problem. And the slideshow. Thank you. The great news is that I'm here, and after a prognosis of only 3 months and no hope, I am cancer-free for 13 years. And that should be a hope for everyone. I feel so privileged to be talking to you. I'm often seen campaigning, speaking about access to drugs, licensing of drugs, personalized treatment. Recently, I've spoken out about cancer care during COVID. And there is a reason why I campaign. I'm certain that if my family and I had not taken an active role in my treatment 15 years ago, then I would have died. I knew nothing about cancer when I was first diagnosed, but I think that our increased knowledge over time, assertiveness, and fight for certain treatment gave me a positivity and awareness that helped me to survive. I'd like to tell you a little bit about how we turned around that situation of no hope to the full life that I have 15 years on. I was a teacher and 52 years old when I was diagnosed with stage 4. I was diagnosed at accident and emergency because I was so anemic, but I had been misdiagnosed for 6 years. So you can imagine how we all felt when my job that I'd been doing the day before came to an abrupt end. I was told that my treatment could only be palliative. Next slide, please. There was nothing they could do. I needed an immediate blood transfusion, and a CT scan came a few days later to find out the truth. No hope is final. However, certain people remain in my memory who helped me to jump hurdles. One of these was my gastroenterologist. Came to see me, sat on the edge of my bed, and he said he'd got surgery all afternoon, but he was meeting with my MDT, the mixed disciplinary team, all the doctors who cared for me, and that he'd make it his mission to see me before his surgery. He did, and he told me there was a plan. The liver surgeon from Birmingham just happened to be at that meeting. He wasn't always there. And he said that he was prepared to operate on me if that tumour in my liver shrank away from the portal vein. This was the only vein that had to remain intact. So why did this make such a difference for me? It was because now I had a plan. I had something to work for. I had hope. And I would say that hope was half of my medicine. It certainly helped my treatment to work because it made me feel uplifted. Because I knew so little, I was very much at the mercy of my doctors. I accepted everything that they said. I didn't question anything. I was missing my work and spent many hours in hospital trying to write lesson plans for the pupils. And I didn't want them to be taught by anybody else. And I wanted the stand-in teachers to teach them what I wanted to tell them. On returning home, several days later, the usual things happened of which patients are aware. Several emergency visits to the hospital because, one, I was allergic to the PICC line, I had reactions to the chemo, and it goes on. I'd tried both types of chemo. As oxaliplatin, the first one didn't work for me, and with different add-ons. Things weren't looking good. However, we read about biological treatments being used elsewhere, in Europe and in America, and I asked about them. But I was told they were not available on the NHS. This was the start to my drive, and I truly believe it helped me to survive. From a position where I totally accepted my fate, I now had an inquiring mind and became very much part of the team. After all, it was my life, my future, my family, and I felt that I should be aware of the choices and making decisions on what happened to me. Suddenly, I became responsible for myself. Mark and I would sit together and write down the questions that we wanted to ask at the next appointment, so that we didn't forget anything. We'd entered a new life that very much put us in control of what was about to happen. And we greatly involved the media for the following years. I was refused the biological treatment that we'd asked for. So we appealed, and I was there at the appeal speaking. But in the end, we paid for it. It cost £21,000. In 2007, you lost all your entitlement to your free NHS treatment if you added a private drug to your regime. Interestingly, my story was in all the press and taken to Parliament, and this actually helped to change the law so that now in the UK, you can add and purchase a private drug without losing that entitlement to your NHS treatment. I was lucky. The drug worked dramatically, and my surgeon could operate. But he did tell me there was a 50-50 chance that I wouldn't survive the operation. I went into that knowing I might die and never see the earth again. It was my decision, and I was prepared to take that risk. Quality of life over overall survival is a decision patients often must make, and I was so happy to be offered this. I really felt lucky to have got there. 14 years on, from 2007, there is so much more known about cancer. There's no one-size-fits-all. There are different types of treatment: biologicals, radiotherapy, radioactive spheres, immunotherapy, combinations of these drugs. There is specific treatment for patients with certain mutations of colorectal cancer and diagnostic testing to make treatment personal. Although there's a long way to go, we have come a long way from when I was ill. It's difficult to find all the pathways open to us, but it is important to try. I fully believe that making your own choices gives you determination to adhere to the treatment, even when it's difficult. It helps to create a feel-good factor that again helps you get through. There were many things that helped me to feel uplifted. Waking each morning and thinking, it's a new day. Hearing the birds sing, listening to music, all these were feel-good factors for me. I loved to cook, but I found it difficult to do a full meal. But I could chop onions, and later I could prepare the vegetables, and later the meat. By the end of the day, took the whole day, I'd cooked a meal for my family. This gave me so much pleasure because it was something I could do for the rest of my family. I was not used to being dependent on everyone else, and I found this so uplifting again. Mark and I, my husband and I, used to take trips away in our caravan, always ensuring we were 1 hour away from a hospital. Sometimes I'd arrange to have my bloods tested at the nearest hospital, so I didn't have to return home too soon. I really loved these trips, and although I had to have a rest for a full afternoon every day, Mark could be outdoors playing his guitar. Every day can be special in doing something you love, and I believe that helped me. All these things helped me through my treatment. A few years ago, I was asked to comment on a large research study on how a group of metastatic colorectal cancer patients felt through their journey, starting with the feeling of hopelessness in the newly diagnosed patient and progressing through to finding hope and acceptance. I've tried to relate this to my own experience. So here goes. Why do we describe cancer as being in a battle, with stage 4 often a lost battle? It is true to say that stage 4 cancer patients are fighting for their lives, but that's not all there is to it. Cancer breaks down the way you feel towards your usual self, your body, and other people. I needed to refine how everything fitted together, find a new relationship between my body, the cancer, and even myself. I entered an emotional journey overnight, where feelings about myself, my cancer, my body, treatments, doctors, and awareness of other people changed. These feelings help me to gain a new sense of hope. And this can help you to accept living with the disease. You cannot tell any recently diagnosed cancer patient to suddenly become empowered or to take control. It takes time to come to this point in your journey. You can see how the power line in this diagram changes from the newly diagnosed cancer patient who becomes empowered as their journey progresses. This is exactly how it was for me. I was becoming empowered over time. I was gradually taking control over my own life. In this research, I found some really interesting comments from patients involved. They were entering third-line treatment. One said, "Life changes when you become a wife, a mother. Your life changes when you get a cancer diagnosis. Don't try to get back to what you were. Just change in what you're going to be." And another said, "It's all about transformation. You aren't the same person anymore." To be honest, I don't want to be the same person. What would be the point in that? And here, I found the best description of going through one's journey in harmony with cancer, not treating it as an alien or a beast, but rather as part of oneself. Diagnosis pulls a person apart physically and emotionally. Nothing will ever be the same again. As you try to adapt your new condition, patients face the biggest challenge: learning how to live with a ticking bomb. The next stage, next slide please, is becoming aware all is not lost and realizing you have the strength to survive and the courage to face your cancer. And then learning that sometimes in life the best strategy is letting go and developing a harmony with your cancer. And the next stage is getting in touch with what one is, fully, truthfully, and unconditionally. And then Satori is a Japanese Buddhist term for understanding and seeing into one's true nature, where you find new hope and meaning in life through your actions for other people. Finally, you find the wave, accepting things just as they are and embracing your uncertainty now with a newfound familiarity. And next slide, please. Looking at how this transition takes place is learning how to step out of that box and viewing healthcare practitioners as part of your extended family. You view them as trusted partners in your journey and you work with them. You take on a critical approach. You're questioning the scary numbers that you were given at diagnosis. You investigate your options and you ask questions. You get information and sources from various places. You ask for everything to be explained so you understand and can be part of it. You see doctors as the experts in medicine. You see yourself as an expert of your own body. You learn that sometimes in life, the best strategy is letting go. You live in harmony with your cancer and you learn to accept it. So, you develop a new attitude of self-care within yourself. Learning to let go opens up potential for discovering new things about yourself. You turn loss into gain. I learned so much about my own life through my cancer journey and experienced some moments of complete peace that I'd never experienced before. Accepting things as they are makes it a whole lot easier. And this doesn't mean you give up, but it means you don't fight. No one can pretend that cancer is easy or fun. I hope this thought process can help others to understand their own journey and also to help them through it. I wrote a book about my journey, including early day campaigning for access to drugs, and all the proceeds have gone to the 2 charities that helped me. Campaigning for others meant I wasn't thinking about myself, and this focus was really therapeutic for me. I enjoyed doing it. I still do. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, I see applause. Your story is really inspirational. And as I said, Cancer Survivor is a title, and it's really special thing. And besides being cancer survivor, you've also decided to be a patient advocate, which we've told is a mission. How this decision came? Was it a natural one? And did you go through all the steps of the curve you showed for patient empowerment?
It really happened in very early days of my journey when I couldn't get the drug that I'd asked for. And I wrote several letters. I got the backing of my local MP, my bank manager, my priest in the church, people who knew me, people I worked with. I sent them all to the Primary Care Trust, which is what it was called then, the Health Authority, and they refused. They said, no, I'm not exceptional. I had to prove I was exceptional in order to gain the drug I wanted. So I then got a solicitor through the patient organisation. I went to them first and they helped me. And we put up a fight. And I actually attended. I was no hair in the middle of my treatment. And I asked again, I had to say why I deserve to have this drug. And one of the reasons I feel guilty is because I had to say why my life was valuable. And it was at that point it struck me, why is my life more valuable than anyone else's? And that is the point at which my advocacy began. And then when my family paid for the drug, and I thought, other people can't have this, I'm alive, there must be so many other people in my situation who have died because they didn't have the chance to access the drug. So that's when I went to the press, and it actually went national. It was on all the news channels. It was in France, it was in Japan, it was in Australia. My story was on the television. And the Prime Minister had to act. So this was, I now had power as a patient, and I thought I mustn't lose this. So I think that was the point when I felt I couldn't just accept what was happening, and I had to do some more. There was a lady before me called Victoria Otley who couldn't access the drug either. It was a different drug. But I got in touch with her, and very sadly she died, but her story was in the paper too. And I was able to speak to her and talk to her about the situation during that time. It was a very, very special time, in fact. And I think that fight helped me to fight my illness too.
Yeah, probably this is how all starts, being a patient advocate for yourself and then being able to help the other people. Mm-hmm. And do you think that patient advocates that are or were former patients are better than the ones who are not? This is a provocative question.
Absolutely not. Everyone has the right to deal with their illness in the best way for them. And I know personally young people who were patient advocates and then thought they wanted to leave it at that point and get on with their life and forget about it. And you so understand that situation. No, I think everyone must do what they feel is best for them to do. And I'm certain that everyone's experience helps another person. The one thing I did learn when I was ill was that I can never repay the person who has directly helped me, but I can help somebody else. And that's the way I would spread and give back and return what was given to me. And because I can never thank the people enough who helped me personally. I'll never forget them, but I can never give it back to them. I can't give my life back to them, but I owe them my life. But I can help other people with their lives, and I feel that's what an advocate is about. It comes from within you, and it's something you want to do. But even if you don't go out talking to the press and speaking to the government, you can still, by your own actions and by talking about your journey and by befriending people and telling your story, and just the next person in the street, maybe, it doesn't have to be public. You can help someone else.
Great, Barbara. Yeah, patient advocacy is something personal, and it's really helping yourself and the others. It doesn't matter how broad it is. It doesn't matter what aspect of advocacy take. But I'm happy that you're here, and it is just because your attitude and just this way of thinking.
Thank you so much, Gagana.
Thank you. We will continue with the next keynote within 10 minutes. So we start in 1:30 with the keynote of Antonella Cardone. Before we continue with the next keynote, I would like to check, Barbara, are you still online? Because we have a question came just after closing your talk.
Yes, I am.
Yes. So I would address this to you. Are you involved in peer programs, Barbara? This is a question from Gada.
Well, through Inspire to Live, certainly, yes, we oversee, we all have to look at each other's writings and we discuss. And in that sense, yes, certainly very much part of that, in particular with Inspire to Live. But I'm with Mark, my husband, because he represents carers. We are involved in many projects. And again, we oversee, I've been asked to oversee information consent forms and to rewrite them. And I've been asked to, I'm a member of a patient expert with the European Medicines Agency. And so I'm present sometimes when drugs are being licensed, and I'm asked to give my opinion and be part of the discussions there. Of course, with COVID, I haven't seen anyone for 2 years, so I haven't been part of that physically. But there are various projects in the UK with Bowel Cancer UK, belong to groups where we have put forward various calls to action with Digestive Cancers Europe as well, and I've chaired projects as well in Europe. So many experiences over the 13 years. Well, I've been very well.
So I assume the short answer is yes, and this is one of the aspects of patient advocacy